And now it's time for our second C3Prize finalist, Diane Jooris.
Good afternoon. I'm thrilled to be here and very grateful to have the chance to share my passion with you. Several years ago, Mathilde was diagnosed with a breast cancer, and she found herself incapable of managing her stress. And the stress started peaking at key moments of the treatment, as you can imagine, most of you can imagine, at the time of biopsy, before surgery, at the start of chemotherapy. And the stress just piled up week after week. And she started feeling really anxious, worried, helpless. She didn't want to take any anxiety medication. So that left her day after day thinking about stopping her cancer treatment. My name is Diane, and Mathilde is my little sister. And she's only one of the 14 million people diagnosed with cancer each year. So as a mental health professional, my job and my passion is to help cancer patients like Mathilde. And I investigated the impact of stress and anxiety on cancer patients, on their physiology, on their psychology, but also on cancer biology. And I also started noticing how hard it is to get access to mental health professionals because of the costs and the needed training. And this is why we created Oncomfort, to make stress management tools and anxiety management tools accessible to the largest number of patients. And to do this, we leverage virtual reality technology, I will show you later, you can stop by, to provide patients with stress management tools, to give them easy to understand information, and also to help them feel more comfortable, calm, and in control during the whole cancer treatment, from day one of diagnosis until long-term survivorship or end of life. So we provide medical teams with a very simple and safe tool, which is cost efficient, and it can be used 24/7 with no training. We use only evidence-based psychological interventions, and each of our models are validated by dozens of experts in oncology and in mental health. Our models are tailor-made to specific moments of the treatment and to the age of the patients, kids or adults. And last but not least, they're already available in 5 languages. So currently we are researching our products in 4 major cancer centers in Europe, and we're in discussions with leading institutions in the United States and in Canada. And we just received pilot data from one of our studies where the breast cancer patients receive a virtual reality session just before the breast surgery. And what we observed just surprised us so much. We were expecting good results, but we saw that on the pilot data, compared to the patient who did not have the virtual reality session before their surgery, the level of post-operative anxiety drops by 56%, the level of pain by 45%, and the consumption of post-operative analgesics dropped with 80%. And that's not all, because we also noticed that we can impact the flow of the clinic. The patient who had this virtual reality session before the surgery had a shorter time in the recovery room. The time was shortened by 62 minutes. And the total length at the stay at the hospital was reduced by 35%. So we know that we're still waiting on the full-blown results of the randomized control studies that are currently undergoing. But we're really excited and thrilled with these preliminary results. So you might wonder, who are our customers? Our customers are surgeons, anesthesiologists, any kind of doctors performing anxiety-triggering procedures. They buy their own headset. I imagine you saw this at Best Buy, Walmart. You can buy it off the shelf. And they subscribe with us to a monthly software licensing fee. As a team, we completed significant milestones in less than 1 year. And our goal is to be adopted as the standard of care and be reimbursed by insurance companies. At Oncomfort, we want to improve the quality of life of cancer patients throughout the whole cancer journey by making stress management tools accessible to the largest number of patients. And we will make this happen. And we're currently seeking collaboration with leading institutions, cancer institutions, with pharma companies, and with foundations. And we're also seeking to fill some key positions in our team. So please come have a chat with me after this and be part of a vision, because this is happening. It's not virtual, it's reality. Thank you very much.
So, an elegant solution to a huge problem. Are you, in your future model, it will come to patients through providers predominantly?
Yes. So in the first year and a half, our goal is to provide this through doctors at the hospital for acute situations. And down the road, we would like the doctor to be able to prescribe or a specific model or kind of a program with different models to patients at home. We know that telemedicine is growing. We know that patients using telemedicine have access to physiological and biological check, but nothing so far is done from a psychological point of view. And we know from years of research, decades of research, how the mental and emotional well-being of the patients impacts the outcomes.
And what do I see when I put it on? Is it a game?
What you see here is a gamified version. It's a psychological intervention to help pediatric cancer patients going through the first chemotherapy. So it's de-dramatizing. We explain to the patient what is a chemotherapy. Then they navigate through the blood vessels, kind of in a Mario Kart circuit, and they shoot chemo juice at the chemo cells. So my goal is to have this used by kids at the hospital, and then have the mom or the dad sitting close to the kids, having a relaxation session, something that can train them in coping skills and help them reducing the stress.
What's unique about it? It looks like a game.
Yes.
What's unique about the way, is it the colors, is it the movement? What's unique about the game that works so well for stress compared to another game?
Thank you for this question. My specialty is clinical hypnosis. Be cautious.
Sorry, I'm calling you.
All right, we vote for you.
Yeah. You win.
My specialty is clinical hypnosis, so I saw and I used it in the OR, in the procedure room, and I also researched the impact of hypnosis compared to any kind of psychological intervention. If you compare to any kind of other psychological intervention, and even sometimes to medication, hypnosis is always first. So what we do is we work with worldwide experts to introduce games. In this case for kids, everything is gamified, which is not the case for adults. But for kids, they get a therapy, but they don't realize that it's a therapy. So it's a blend of a lot of psychological techniques which are embedded into our games. And my partner Joanne, who is here, she's the game developer, she's the tech, and she makes this magic happen.
And is your vision that people would, you said it was a subscription model.
Yes.
Is there an upfront cost, and do you have an idea of what people would pay?
No. There's no upfront cost. You just have to buy a headset. So far, it's around, if a hospital wants to buy this, it's around $800, which is
for the headset.
For the headset, yes.
But is the subscription then to subscribe to your game?
Yes, they have two options. They can subscribe to one module or a Netflix-like subscription with access to the whole library. So imagine you have a small hospital. They could use this in the morning for kids with chemotherapy, and they could use it in the evening for inpatient units with sleep issues. While in bigger hospital, they will need to have only one per headset.
That's very good. Before I start barking like a dog because of the hypnosis, I did have a question about, in the studies, how long do the patients actually have to wear it before or during or after the procedure, and then is it required days or weeks afterwards also?
In this case, we use it only before surgery. So it's an 18-minute session, period, and we see the benefits. Actually, there's a very good study from the University of Washington which shows the impact of just virtual reality compared to virtual reality plus hypnosis or other psychological interventions. So actually, for the moment, we use it as a one-shot. So our patients have this before lumbar punctures, before MRI, going into an MRI, before breast surgery. So it's just one, but our goal is to increase the number of models that we can offer. So this patient can have trainings and understand better how to deal with chronic pain, with nausea, when they have chemo. So all chronic issues will be covered, hopefully.
Why isn't it, I mean, it's fascinating to me, honestly. My mom had ovarian cancer, and we tried every form of care that you could possibly think of. I'm just thinking, nobody ever said to me about hypnosis. Is it not standard? Is it a non-standard part of North American care, or?
It's much more developed in Europe. Actually, there was a lot of work done in the US, and then it has been abandoned because of the medication development of the pharmacological companies and pharmacological solutions to anxiety, to anesthesia. For example, these last years, I was working on a project to develop in Houston something that, to duplicate it in Houston, something I saw in Brussels, which is breast surgeries, which are done only with local anesthesia plus hypnosis.
Wow.
And the research is amazing. These patients go out of the OR, they're just feeling like you and me right now. They have zero pain, zero nausea, zero anxiety, and they feel completely empowered.
Do you think that's part of the challenge with people in North America, that they would be a little hesitant to use it because they're not as, it's not as widely known?
No, it's coming. It's coming, and the benefit of having been able last year to implement this in a major cancer center in Texas will allow for sure the dissemination of these techniques. We have more and more people coming from Europe and talking to doctors here, so this is very common there.
Can I ask you, as someone that started a company in exactly the same structure as you, selling to hospitals and then ultimately going and having gone through the regulatory and the clinical trial space exactly in the model that you're talking about, how are you going to fund all of that? Have you got the pockets? Have you got the infrastructure, the regulatory framework to do that?
So far, we're not regulated because we're not a treatment. So as soon as we'll have pilot data, data from randomized control trials, which we will have in 5 months from Europe, and we hopefully will have them fast in the US, we can go through FDA and to European regulations. So for the moment, we're not claiming that we save people from anxiety or stress, we're not claiming anything therapeutic. We're just saying that we help people dealing with stress. When we'll have data that shows us that we can definitely reduce anxiety, we will be able to go to FDA. But we're still waiting on this data. We have pilot data for the moment.
So some clinical centers have experience with other approaches, let's say music therapy, pre and post surgery.
Yeah.
How do you see your technology in comparison to things that may have been on the market for a while?
I think this is completely different because the unique approach is that it cuts you from any anxiety triggering cue that's in your environment. So if you listen to music, for example, I used a lot with a French cancer center, we recorded hypnosis session for port placement. And we saw statistically significant results in terms of comfort and in pain during the procedure. But the patient is not immersed. The same with music therapy. It's not immersed, or you have a recording and it's nice, but it's not major. Or you have someone playing an instrument for you, but you have to pay this person, needs to be available. So here, the patient is completely away from the anxiety triggering environment, which just impacts them so much. When you see a stressed patient using this for 5 minutes, you can look at the breathing slowing, the pace of the breathing slowing, and this patient is just like, wow. We have this wow effect every time we use it. So I think the immersion is really crucial here. And the ease of it's really plug and play, everybody can use it.
I noticed in some of your proposals here, you talked about kids and different. Do you see this starting in children before adults, or adults before? Is there a mindset of where you're going to start this with, or are you just, well, whoever takes it first?
We would like to start with kids because these are the most excited by this technology.
Yeah.
I have lines in front of my house
that.
of all the kids who want to try it. So it's very new, it's very exciting. So our goal is to start with kids and also start with breast cancer, because breast cancer patients are the most stressed population. They are extremely anxious, and helping them dealing with this anxiety will just ease the whole cancer journey.
Question, you talked about hopefully getting the payers to reimburse for it at some point. What are your plans to make that happen?
We are researching this for the moment because we are, as you can hear, I'm not from here, I'm based in Brussels. My co-founder Joanne is based in Houston. And the regulations about reimbursement by insurance are different in each major continent or country. So we'll check it out in Europe. We are working with surgeons and doctors who went through this process with other tools there and here, and just moving forward with them. They are guiding us through the process.
Great. Thank you, Diane. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Please give a round of applause to Diane Jooris.